Please welcome Lynds.
I'm going to go over a few things with side laterals. A couple questions I've had sent to me is what's the best side lateral movement? I'm going to start with old school, just a straight dumbbell. Go over the cues and the proper technique of a side lateral, and then I'm going to move through a couple machines, and I'm going to end on cable. So realistically, what you should do is you have a slight bend. Your shoulder girdle should be straight. So some people will tell you to lean forward, some people will tell you to lean back. What I say is basically stand in an upright position with your shoulder girdle straight. So if you know what that means, is one quick way to reset your shoulder girdle is go up with your shoulders, back and down. So now everything is aligned, everything is in place. A way a bodybuilders kind of look at it is they get in that position of a front lat spread or a front relaxed. So when you're in that position, you're already in the side lateral kind of motion. You're already there because you're already in the arc of a side lateral. The most benefit of a side lateral, especially with the dumbbell, is you got to think the lever that you're using. So if I go with a short lever, it's only minimal to the joint that I'm using. But the longer the lever is, the more pressure I'm putting on that basically shoulder capsule or shoulder joint itself. But it's mainly for the side delt. I'm not doing a front raise for the front. I'm not doing a rear for the rear. So you're more so hitting the side lateral, so the side delt. So you're gonna come up and everything kind of stays straight. So you're not seeing me swing my body into it. So there is a slight movement when I come down with it, but I'm trying to keep that shoulder girdle completely in a stationary position. I'm just coming straight out. I'm going to parallel. I'm not going above parallel. I don't understand why people are doing that, because you're putting more emphasis on, basically what you're doing is you're pinching the nerve. So there's 18 tendons that wrap around and 18 muscles that wrap around the shoulder joint, which is essentially your rotator cuff. So if you put too much stress on there, there's strong ones and there's weak ones. So that's why people try to alleviate that. But if you're just going too heavy and you're doing this and you're just swinging, you're not benefiting yourself. Another thing that I see wrong is where the elbows are and where the kind of hands are. So you want your elbows above where the weight is. So you see how my arms are staying straight. Like I can't even accomplish what a lot of them try to do is they do this like bicep curl. I don't know how they do it, but it is so putting so much torque on the joint itself that it's just completely detrimental. So the big cues are shoulder girdle, you keep that nice and straight, starting in an upright position, and you're going straight to the side like this. So as you can tell, the weight is a bit out. It's not completely to the side, so you're coming straight out with it. So like I said, in a front relax for a bodybuilder, you're coming out with it. So down to the hip and straight up. It's keeping that same arc of the arm, okay? So there's essentially your proper way to do a dumbbell. Now let's move to another proper machine. We have the standing side lateral. Great piece of machinery here, standing side lateral. Many ways you can kind of look at this and do it. Let's look at the cues that I just went over. So standing upright, shoulder girdle in the same spot. You're not swinging the weight. So realistically here, this negates the swing, because really you can't get that torso swing into it because you're in a stagnant machine. Yes, the levers do move, but this is where the elbow is shorter than where the hand is, kind of, which negates what you're doing. Same sort of thing. You're getting in to everything's nice and straight. It's great to have the mirror to the side. You can kind of check where you're standing. You're not leaned over. You're not putting that round to the back. So you're up nice and straight, and you're coming out to the side. So what I like to do, if you're doing the hand grip, so Basically, I take my thumb out of it. You can do it, but the reason I'm doing this is I'm just making a hook with my hand. So the weight is underneath, just letting my wrist go. So I'm ensuring that my elbow is above. So when I'm coming out, I'm more so thinking of elbow coming to the side than the weight itself coming to the side. So a lot of people, they think I have to move this out. So when they come up, they're doing this sort of thing because they're only thinking about this handle moving. But if you just hook it, let your wrist go and think elbow, now all of a sudden you're in this proper position, everything's nice and straight, and you're not doing that swing. There's tons of other things you can do with this. One way that I actually show my clients that have that tendency of putting the wrist into it, and this is something I do if you are going to try it, to have wrist wraps on, put your hands on the inside of the bar. Because what that does is it negates any sort of grip, and it negates any sort of, everything has to be moving in the same speed, same everything. So if you put your hands on the inside of the bar, and now you think elbows, so now I'm coming up straight with the elbow. So now I basically took my whole grip and wrist out of the equation. So there is no way, because as soon as I fudge something and I start to think about the bar, what happens is my hand's gonna slip off, or this is gonna, comes up and this tries to slide up your forearm. So everything has to be in that spot where it's nothing but movement. So that's the benefits of this. Let's go to a seated. Now, same sort of thing. Coming up to the side. And remember, think right away what I did is I just made a hook. I'm just making hooks with my hands. I'm thinking elbows. My elbow is what's coming up. Keeps everything nice and stagnant. Keeps my grip out of it. Again, if you're having that issue where you are cheating, try the hands on the inside with no grip. Same sort of thing. Takes that away. It does take a little bit of concentration because the handle has to be moving at the same speed. So you really can't get this whole swing into it. You're more so concentrating on the tempo, the speed, and obviously you can't jack the weight up because all that pressure is laid on skin and bone. So it doesn't tickle if you don't have the wrist wraps on. So another machine there. Let's move to another seated one where the pads are on your elbows. Looking at this machine, same sort of thing that we were just on. You have one that you're sitting into. You have that chest pad if you want it. You want to be at an angle. You want the seat right where the pad is on your elbow. You don't want it up here because really you're putting no pressure on the joint at all. You're just basically doing a shrug. So what I like to do is get into it. Everything's nice and straight. So this is where you can really kind of pop your chest in and get your shoulder girdle in a nice position. Okay. So realistically, right now my arms are sitting on my lats because everything is nice and straight. Again, thinking elbows. Obviously, my grip has nothing to do with this right now. You can grab the handles if you want, but this is another position where you're in the same ideal that you're just thinking elbow drive. So my elbow's coming up to parallel, and everything's kind of coming down. I'm not, you don't see me swinging into it like this. I'm using the chest pad, and the good thing about this one is you can go right into it unilateral. So put your hand against this pad, and now I'm doing one arm at a time. I can go right into this one arm at a time. So this one really emphasizes elbow drive. So if you're a beginner, I would start with this one. Get your mind into that mind to muscle connection where you're driving the elbow up instead of thinking, okay, the weight's in my hand, I have to take this up as high as I can. And then once you kind of master this, then move on to the standing or the seated grip one or a dumbbell. Lastly, what we're going to do is we're running into a cable. So a lot of people use the handle, or you'll see them use the ankle strap for the wrist. So let's go into both of those. This is one you'll see very popular right now. A lot of people are using sort of, basically it's an ankle strap, but they're putting it around the wrist, so it takes away what I've been mentioning, it takes away the grip. So it takes away that spot where you can really kind of arc the wrist, and the weight should be directly on the joint. So there's multiple ways you can get into this one as well. You can start in front, but in doing so, if you start with the weight in front of you, you have to almost let your shoulder out. So a lot of people are getting into that improper position right away. So when they're coming up, they're having to kind of swing their upper body to get there. To negate that or get over that, just take a step over. You have these handles, most tables have the handle, so do this lean. So now, all of a sudden, now my shoulder grows in the right spot. Everything is directly from the hip. Again, I'm thinking elbow. So elbow comes up, and you're coming straight out with it. So again, I can't, if everything's lined up, and I'm lined up right at the cable to the hip, I can't put myself in position here, or I can't swing my torso unless I move my torso, because I'm leaning against there. But as soon as I stand up, now it takes that away. So now, yes, I can swing my body, which is why I'm using a lean position. Takes that away. So, and this works with both around the wrist and the handle itself. But do the handle, same sort of thing. I'm gripping it. A lot of people, you'll see doing this. And all I'm doing is using my torso. So again, step over, grab a hold of this, lean away. Now all of a sudden, my shoulder girdle is in the right spot. All the weight is sitting on my lap, like I mentioned in the last machine, and you're just coming straight out. But it's all elbow drive. As soon as you put something in your hand, a lot of new people, intermediate people think, okay, this is what has to move. So they're thinking hands. They're coming up and they're doing this, like I said, like a bicep, like a reverse bicep curl. And it's completely puts too much pressure. So all you gotta think is hands a hook, and I'm driving the elbow out, parallel. So those are all the different ways to do your side laterals. So we went over dumbbell, proper positions. Think elongated lever, hands just a grip, or just a hook, and you're just coming up. It's all from the elbow, so the elbow's coming up. So again, if you're putting your shoulder girdle in spot instead of standing from the front, so if I'm standing like this, it's shoulders up, back, and down. So now I'm in that spot. So now my arms are literally sitting on my laps. But everything, as you can see, is lined up straight down the spine to my hip. So I'm coming straight out instead of going like this. So all these ways are ways to go away from cheating. Because eventually when we do cheat, everyone swings. Everybody tries to swing away. We're all getting into these dirty reps at the end. And I'll let you know from experience, that's where the injuries start to come in. You get into those dirty reps, that's where the risk, you get into that risk column and injuries come. So take what you want of that. Next time we'll be working on, we'll show a little bit of front out movements and maybe some shoulder presses. So hopefully you guys take good from this. Learn, keep asking questions, and I'll keep providing the answers.